G'day traders, welcome to wrap up of Thursday the 5th of July. So we've got the daily chart up here. We're looking at this particular candle here. So what happened starting this day is you can see all the momentum's on the upside. So we're definitely in a buyer's market. So you've got to put a bit more of a weight to the buyer's side. We have got above this little bit of a swing high area here. So this particular day here, or even this one earlier one here, they're the ones that are likely to be one directional days, but now that we're past that, it's likely to get to buyers and sellers and have two directional days. So looking for both the buyer's trend and the seller's trend throughout the day, but with more of a weighting to the buyer's side. If we do decide to come back, like this market's definitely possible coming back into the range, and we're probably going to look for some support round about, let me draw a line in there. I think top of this candle here, low of this sort of area over here, so anywhere from about 1345 area is sort of a market that we could come back, get some support and push higher from. So even if we're coming down through here, it's still a buyer's market, but expect sort of this area to hold. So on saying that, you can see here's the overall day here. We've got some buyers and then got some sellers, so one of those two directional days, but certainly upside through this center period here looked really quite strong, and we'll go through that. To start off the day, it was very volatile throughout Europe, especially Great Britain. Actually, there was some major interest rates announcements and things like that, so this has really created a volatile European session, which is then kind of, as we're starting up the US session here, made the morning a little bit interesting, but it's settled down. It's gone through this little bit of a sideways period here and pushed lower. What I'd say about this area here, it wasn't really predictable. This lower here, the ES was kind of leading them on the downside. If you look at the Russell, the Nasdaq, and especially the Dow Jones, they're all really trying to hold, and a lot of them weren't pushing much further than this little bit of a low area here. They were really resisting the downside, waiting for the chance to pop up and go longer. So as we're coming down here, certainly not convincing. Then as we turned around here and started breaking up higher, this is a lot more in line with what the other markets were looking to do. Of course, we've got the daily charts on the upside, and a lot more comfortable looking for some sort of trading opportunity on the buy side as we push up higher here. The 1 minute chart will show the support and resistance a little bit area, and I'll get to this particular area here. But once we got this bit of a strong push up here, it's quite evident that we've certainly got some buyers around and looking for some sort of area where the market wants to pull back, get on, and then go to its highs. It didn't happen that way, and eventually we came up here and made new highs, but still the area is still on. It's still a feasible area, so we popped back here like this for a buying area. However, there was some pressure coming down here quite strongly, so this areas like this, it's worth holding off and just waiting to see if it's going to continue to push down, or whether that pressure can hold, which it did do, and then eventually got higher. So this particular area and going back to the highs was quite a high percentage area. I even thought from here it could go higher and look like some of the other markets. I think it was the Dow Jones was breaking higher at the time and looked like some of them want to go now, but in the end it popped down lower before going higher again. But the thing I'd say about this little bit of a swing low we talked about in the trading room is, even though this particular market, ES, has just popped lower here, made lower lows, it certainly wasn't convincing as far as the sellers are concerned. All the other markets were holding this particular area here, so when they came back, they didn't break past this little bit of a low area here. So certainly not looking for selling areas or anything around here. It's still definitely a buyer's market. It just popped a little bit lower, then it started to make a bit of a run back up here just before at the end of lunchtime. Thought this particular area here showed signs of really potentially pushing higher, and some buying opportunities certainly around here, and we'll have a look at those in the 1 minute chart as well. We've gone sideways here. Something I'd point out is we've come up to the high once here. Well, we've marked it for the first time, had a go at it a second time, third time. When you see three-prong attack like this, many times, I don't know exact percentage, but I have to put it above 70% that it goes higher. You rarely see it go three times like that and all of a sudden push down. It's a rare thing to see, especially when you got momentum with the other markets and dailies and everything on the upside. So something like this, when it popped up, even though it went a little bit sideways, and even through this area here, the Russell started to come back a bit, which made the area look not so convincing. But overall, it's very likely to push higher, which is eventually what it has done. From there, it kind of topped out around this area here. The Russell continued to do what it was trying to do, and that was pull the other markets back down. And then as we started breaking down under this bit of area here, it became quite evident that the sellers were around, and again looking for any sort of convincing setup, as in we want to see push down the market, pop up around this area here, and hold around these resistance levels and push lower, as it looked like there was basically a third trend starting for the day, but nothing really eventuated. This area here came quite late. It's getting quite close to 4 o'clock. So just go through the same thing on the 1 minute chart. So here's this very much sideways area. When it does decide to find a trend, it kind of grips and holds. And as this particular here, the predictive average, let me slide the 5 minute chart across. The predictive average was crossing down, so basically here popped up, held about halfway up that trend, and then the predictive average crossing down. This is normally an area I really like to sell, and it becomes an area that the downtrend becomes quite evident, and it's a good one to go with, as long as the but is as long as other markets are really supporting the area. So like I said earlier, it wasn't convincing on the downside. So even though the ES had this sort of like this setup like it wanted to go lower, the other markets certainly weren't looking that in that same sort of scenario. They were really resisting sellers and trying to hold. So even as the ES was pushing down here, and you can see it popped up, it's created a bit of a level here and pushed down lower. Some of the other markets started to follow, but it was the ES leading them down, and it certainly wasn't convincing on the downside from the other markets. Then we started coming up here. So normally this power point here, as you can see, 1, 2, 3 power points. Look for it to pop back here, hold, and get a continuation of the trend. That's as long as you got everything working with the downside. In this particular case, it just is an area probably best to avoid because of the fact of the dailies, and also especially the other markets. At this stage here, they're all pushing higher, and they'll well and truly back up into this range and breaking up above here, and they're really dragging these markets up. The only thing going for this power point was the fact there was a bit of a resistance level here. You can see the market's popped up. That's an area it could have held, but you can see it's tried, but not for long. And as soon as it's popped up, we've got this bit of aggressive green candle here. There's a real strong confirmation of the buyer's trend. So as it's going up through here, looking for some sort of power point pullback, or bounce off a support line or something like that. Any sort of area around here, once we confirm that upside, is certainly high percentage trading. Okay, it just didn't it didn't come. You can see this is quite a consistent push up here. Not even a 2-point pullback. Eventually we did get that here. Here's this really strong aggressive red candle where there was a 5-minute buying opportunity. So still a good area, but just waited to see what it wanted to do at the end of this candle. At the end of this candle here, quite often you can get another strong red candle, and it's going to easily stop you out. So just want to confirm it wanted to hold. We've got a couple of green candles. Now it's good to buy, and away you go and look for it to go back to the highs, which eventually did do. Then it popped back here. I thought this particular area had a good chance of holding and going higher. Some of the other markets were certainly looking that way. In the end, it just popped a little bit lower. Like I said, the other markets didn't pop lower. They all held this sort of this swing low here and pushed higher. And then it was this run up here, where all the other markets are really starting to break higher. That at the end of lunch, where I thought it was a good chance of breaking the highs for the as it's coming up for the third time, and eventually has done that. You can see sideways movement, but then broken through with quite a bit of power there. Around here, then it started to really flatten out. And overall, I guess the afternoon session was kind of flat. If you look at this, there's a bit of a move up there, sideways, move up there, sideways, and then we kind of drifted down. And as we started getting back down into this area here, so once we got through that purple, this purple was a tough one to fade. I wouldn't be, it looks like the fade worked there, but it's certainly an area that could hold. The other markets weren't breaking down yet, but once we did get through that area and saw the other markets breaking this area as well, that kind of confirms the downside a little bit, and then look for the market to pop back. So this is probably the best area here, and then continuation of the trend. But overall, not much of a pullback here, or retracement I should say, and it's quite late. You can see it's well into close to 4 o'clock mark. But as far as an overall setup, it's kind of a good one to see. If you see anything like this, when all of a sudden the market, the ES and all the other markets start breaking underneath support lines and holding like what looks like a downtrend, look for the market pop up, get a better entry, then get continuation of that downtrend. So that's a wrap up for Thursday. I know it's been a short week. There was nothing on Tuesday and Wednesday. Markets was shut on Wednesday. There was only half a day on Tuesday, very low volume, so not really tradable. So basically so far we just had Monday, then Thursday, and then now of course we got tomorrow, so I'll speak to you guys on Friday.